as I predicted to Mr. Blair, not just there, but here. In the last conversation I ever had with him in the library corridor in the House of Commons, just outside the gentleman's lavatory to be precise, I said to him three things. That if you and Bush invade Iraq, Baghdad will quickly fall, but it will not be the beginning of the end, only the end of the beginning. Number two, that the Iraqis will fight you with their teeth, if necessary, until they drive you from their country. And number three, that if you do this, there are no Al-Qaeda in Iraq now, but there'll be 100,000 Al-Qaeda, another underestimation. There'll be 100,000 Al-Qaeda in Iraq before you can say Jack Robinson. And that these people will not remain in Iraq. They will cascade everywhere across the world, including here. And that exactly happened. And now we have this mentality present everywhere. I could throw a stone from this studio and land somewhere. It would land somewhere where there's somebody harboring these thoughts, and they may not act on them. God forbid that they do, but they might, and they have.
It's just not publicised the way, you know, we talk about the invasion in Iraq and how it's disrupted the countries and how it's actually led to this, but it's just a cycle of how it evolves, because we vote for these governments to go into place, and they continue to do this, continue to disrupt these countries, and then we ask the question of why it's happening. Oh, look at these terrorists. We're not dealing with it in the right way. We're not asking the questions and saying why we always seem to be invading these countries. Why have we always got an investment into these countries?
Yeah, even worse, we say, why do they hate us so much? You know, I learned a lesson long ago that in order to understand something, you've got to be able to walk in the other person's shoes. It's what's called empathy. Yeah. You have to understand how this looks to them, feels to them, is to them. And if you spent 5 minutes doing that, you'd know why they hate us. You know, it's like smashing into someone's home, killing half their family, kicking them out into the garden under canvas, and then asking, why do these people hate us? It's a ridiculous, absurd question. And yet that was, for some years, after the invasion of Iraq, a prevailing narrative that somehow these people hate us because of the length of the skirts that the girls wear in Copenhagen, or Vice in Soho. Yeah. Nothing to do with that. It's because we either prop up dictatorships in their country, sell them guns, train their soldiers and the police. In the case of Saudi Arabia, right now, we've sold £5 billion worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia in 5 years. We are training their soldiers and their police officers to subjugate their own people. And when the day comes that their own people overthrow them, we'll ask, why do these people hate us? So either we prop up their dictators or we invade them, in the case of Iraq, in order to overthrow a dictator that we used to support. So why do these people hate us? Why would they not?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I've never understood our intervention in the Middle East and how it's gone for many years. I mean, we're reading a university study and how, you know, you look at some of the African countries and what some of our governments say and how they're intervening with countries. Oh, it's to implement a democracy. It's to do this. It's to do that. When really we'd be doing that in so many countries around the world.
Well, we did it before we were a democracy, never mind them.
But it just seems to be it's always in the Middle East, and then you have to look into it with the resources and what they offer and where they're positioned. And that seems to be the main reason for it. And, we
had an empire on which the sun never set. It was so vast.
Mm.
Although, as my Irish grandfather used to say, that's because God would never trust the British in the dark. We were not a democracy, never mind them. The soldiers we sent to conquer Africa and Asia didn't have a vote. Even their officers were lucky to have only the most senior officers had a vote when we conquered the world. So that wasn't for democracy. So why should we believe it's for democracy now?
I know. I certainly don't. So what was the roundabout time when you got accused of the oil trading deal and then you had to go to the Senate? Was that around the time of the...
It was exactly 2005.
So was this the reason because you were very outspoken about the Iraq war, or you were a position that and they went for you? Or
Not just me. The Pope's secretary, Nelson Mandela's secretary, the foreign minister of France. It was like there was a hit list of the most prominent, maybe effective anti-war leaders. Okay, we've smashed through the gates of Baghdad. We've taken control of the city. Let's now deal with the people that stood against us. And it's now history. It's my best day ever. But I can say that Saddam Hussein never gave me a brass farthing, but the newspapers that alleged that he did had to give me millions. And I mean millions.
Wow.
The Daily Telegraph itself had to pay out £2.4 million for that story. The Christian Science Monitor, £250,000, and many others. So Saddam never gave me anything, but the newspapers had to give me plenty.
That's
Karma. Call it karma.